Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Wednesday, the 26th of March. Continuing with Robert Murray McShane to read through John's Gospel, we read chapter 16 today, the continuation of Jesus' discussion and teaching with the disciples on the last day of his earthly ministry. And in verse 2 of chapter 16, he warns the disciples about the people in the world, and he says, "They will put you out of the synagogue. In fact, the time is coming when anyone who kills you will think they are offering a service to God. They will do such things because they have not known the Father or me." And as I read that, I thought that was quite clearly the situation in Jesus' day. And the Acts of the Apostles have all the stories of the persecution that the Christians suffered. 2,000 years later, it's not that much different. And one looks around the world and sees the rise of militant fundamentalist Islam, where people think that persecuting and killing Christians is actually a good deed and you're serving Allah in doing that. And we see an emerging Hindu nationalism in India, where people have a similar kind of attitude. And as Christians, we can't point the finger too vigorously when one looks back at our history and some of the appalling persecutions we've been executing over the world. But Jesus warns us that people that don't know him will want to get rid of us. And a few verses later, he says in verse 20, "Very truly I tell you, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy." And I think we live in a world where people are increasingly seeking to throw off the constraints that religion has on them. We want to free ourselves from the limitations of God. We want to make our own thoughts, our own decisions, our own way forward. We'll establish our own value system, which will be based on public opinion. I don't know. But we'll do it ourselves. We'll be done with God. And in a sense, the world rejoices as this happens. And as Christians, we look at this and think, this is not going to go well. This is not a good idea. And we grieve for the world. Not so much for ourselves, because this is what Jesus warned us would happen. But we see the suffering and the fallout of the hedonism and the selfishness and the arrogance of materialist individuals. But we take courage from the fact that Jesus says to us, you will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. And we hang on to that. At some point, the tables will be turned. Jesus has promised he will step back into the world. He will step back into history. He will bring it all to an end, and we will rejoice as he takes us to be with him in his Father's kingdom. So we're not surprised when we don't fit in here, and we keep our eyes fixed on our final destination. And as we do that, we recognize that we truly are blessed.